Hey there, Stampers. This is Sherry Roth with Stamped Treasures. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Alberta, Canada, and I am excited to be here today to share with you this fun card. Now, this card features some of the products from the Sun Prints suite. Actually, it includes the bundle, so the stamp set and the dies, and then also the fern embossing folder. All right, so let's go ahead. As beautiful as this Sun Prints suite is, I really love this suite, but I wanted to do something that was not in the shades of blue that are in this collection. So we're switching things up and we're going to do something fun and bright today. All right, so the colors that I've chosen to use are Parakeet Party and Coastal Cabana, which I love these two colors together. They're just, I don't know, it's such a bright, cheerful, summery kind of color combination. So what we're going to do first is we're going to work on our background because we need that to dry before we do everything else. So I have a piece of a 4 by 5¼ inch piece of white, thick white cardstock that I'm going to do the packaging technique on. This is a technique, if you've watched my videos before, you know that I love this technique, mostly for scrapbooking, but I do it for cards on occasion as well, okay? But it creates this great kind of, I don't know, artistic look for a background. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So I do suggest when you do this, especially on a card, if you can use thick white cardstock, then it helps prevent too much warpage. If that's a word. And what you'll need is you'll need a piece of packaging. So this is just some packaging left over from something that I purchased, and I just keep this and use it over and over and over again. And we're going to use Parakeet Party. You can use pretty much any color you'd like. I prefer to stay away from colors that have kind of reds in them though, because I don't know, I just don't like the look of it. It kind of makes it look like it's blood splatter, and it's not a good look for a card. Okay, and then I've got a Stampin' Spritzer just with some water in it. Let me put this on here so you can see. So I just smooshed my ink pad on there. And then I'm going to spritz it quite a bit. I want my ink to actually drip, like pool. Okay, so I'm going to keep adding. So you can see that there's a little bit of movement there. So that's what I want. And then I'm going to drip it on, and I'm going to curl my paper and just go like that. Now I probably have enough to do a couple here. You can also have a paper towel handy to dab off that excess if you want to make it a little bit lighter, or if you like that really bright color, then go ahead and let it dry as it is. Just to speed things up, I soaked up some of that excess. And then there is enough here that I could do another one. I did not cut another piece of white, so I'm just going to go ahead and just use my paper towel and wipe this up. And then, like I said, I just keep this packaging and I use it over and over and over. Okay, so that is the packaging technique. Quick and easy, and it makes me feel, like I said, an artist. Okay, so put that away, and now we're going to bring in this larger strip of white. Now, if you want the measurements for this card, you can refer to the blog post that will be linked in the description. Okay, so we're going to use this big leafy image and some Coastal Cabana ink. We'll stamp this. Down on our strip of white. And actually, while we've got this, I'm going to take my inside piece, which is also another piece of white cardstock. This is just regular white cardstock, just a 4 by 5¼ inch piece. And I'm going to stamp another one of these on the inside. And let's do our envelope as well. I always like to decorate the envelope and the inside just a little bit. Okay, we can set that aside. Now we're going to bring back our white strip and our Parakeet Party. And we're going to use the fern image. and stamp that on there. And let's add some green to our envelope as well. I'll do that, and we can do the inside of our card as well. There we go. All right, we are going to need some more green in a little bit, but we're going to set this aside. We're going to bring in our mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss, and we'll die cut these images using the coordinating dies. So I've got the Natural Prints dies, and I'll need this guy and this guy. All right, now this Sun Prints suite is actually the suite that Laura and I chose to use for this month's class to go. So I will link all of the information to where you can find the details in the description. You can register for the class to go up until June 14th. And then after that, just the tutorial will be available. And in that class, we do focus on the colors that are in that DSP and the bundle, because it's such a beautiful bundle. And we create 6 different cards. One of them is a fun fold card. So you'll end up with tons of ideas using this collection of products. Okay, so we've got one of our leaf images there, and now I'm going to take this fern image. You can see I've got a little bit of washi tape left over from the last time I used it, so I'm just going to go ahead and use that on here. Now with this mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss, you can't have anything extending past. So this piece was a little bit too long and was extending past there. You'll struggle trying to get it to feed through if anything is longer than the plates themselves. And then also the plates, I find it grabs a little bit better if you stagger the plates, and then it just grabs nicely. So just something to keep in mind if you've got the mini machine and you're struggling with trying to get it through. And those are a couple of the common things to check for. Okay. All right, we can set this aside. Okay, and then we're going to bring in the hello image, and in my kit I had a circle that I punched out. I believe it was using the 1.5 inch circle punch, but if you've got the layering circles or the stylish shape dies, you could do one of those. Just going to use some Memento ink and stamp my hello there right in the center. And then I'm going to clean this because I want to stamp it in the green on my background. Okay, so my background, it's not quite dry, but it's pretty close. So I'm going to take the Parakeet Party and my hello there, and I'm going to stamp it multiple times here. Some of them will be re-inked, some of them won't. Most of these will get covered over. Okay. So I stamped it 5 times, so you can see what that looks like. And then I'm just going to slide this stuff out of the way because we're going to do a little bit of splattering. So I'm going to take my dark basic black Stampin' Right, or not Stampin' Right, Stampin' Blend, and my bone folder. I'm going to take off the cap for the brush tip, and I'm just going to tap this. Okay, so it gives me a little bit of splatter in the background. I love the splatter effect that this gives. It's just a nice fine splatter. Okay, now we're going to do a couple more things to this piece before we start assembling our card. So I wanted it to have a little bit more of a distressed look. So I'm going to take my paper snips, open them up, and just run them down the sides to kind of almost roughen up the edges of my cardstock. if you are using our paper snips, be very careful because our paper snips are very sharp. They're a great little scissor. Okay, so I'm going to go around on all four sides. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my finger or my thumb and curl up this corner. And I'm going to roll it kind of back and forth, back and forth. I want to break down those fibers because I want to separate them. So by rolling it back and forth like that, you'll see that the fibers will start to separate. And then I'm going to roll that first one down like that, so it looks like that. And then I'm going to roll the second one down. So it looks like that. Okay, so now I think we've got everything that we need to assemble our card. Now I should explain that I did pre-do some things here. So I've taken a piece of Coastal Cabana cardstock and I ran it through using the Fern embossing folder. So I just embossed that to add a little bit of texture. And we're going to trim that down just a little bit. So I think that is, I'll give you the measurements in a minute. I think it's 2 by 4 1/4. Yeah, it's 2 by 4 1/4. And we're going to trim it down to 1.5 by 4 1/4. And then we're going to save this so that we can use it on the inside. Okay, so our card base is going to be a piece of Parakeet Party that measures 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. This piece is going to go down right in the center. So this was a card that we created at our last team meeting where I shared a few different simple background ideas that you could do. So on here, there's actually multiple backgrounds on this one card. We've got the packaging technique, and then we also stamped on it, and we also splattered on it. So this is kind of a 3-in-1 background idea. We generally meet once a month and stamp together. We have recognition. It's lots of fun. And we've got demonstrators across Canada on our team. So if that is something that appeals to you, that you'd like to give it a try, I will have a link to where you can join Stampin' Up! And purchase your customizable starter kit in the description below. And if you have any questions about being a demonstrator, I'm happy to answer them. Okay, so we are going to add all of our bits and pieces now. So I'm going to start with this guy, and you saw that I only put a little bit of adhesive just at the bottom, and I also used my bone folder to kind of curl it up just a little bit. I like to do that because it makes it feel a bit more dimensional. I'm going to do the same thing with the fern leaf. Just add a little bit of adhesive and then add that on there. And then I've also pre-cut one of these little sprigs, the longer sprigs, from a piece of vellum. So this is going to get tucked in behind. And on my sample I did it behind here, which I probably should have put that one on first. Oh, that looks okay. All right, and then my hello there, I'm going to take just a little bit of seal adhesive, and I've got about a 12-inch length of twine. Just going to wrap it around my fingers, and then, okay, so I want it kind of like this. You can do it in a figure 8 if you want, and if you don't want it quite so symmetrical, like I've got it pretty even, like my loops are pretty even, you can just adjust it. Okay, I'm happy with the way that looks. Now I will pop this up using some dimensionals. Oops. And we'll add that right on here like that. Isn't that pretty? Okay. And then we've got our matching envelope. Let's finish off the inside of our card. So we've got our stamped piece. And I'm going to take this little strip that I had left over from the piece that I cut. And it's going to be a little bit longer because my inside piece measures 4 inches. And remember, the outside piece was 4 1/4. But I'll just trim off that little bit of excess that we've got there. And then we can add this to the inside, and our card is done. We've got a nice, bright, cheerful, summery card. And I love that the hello there is kind of generic. So you could turn it into a birthday card, a thank you card, a thinking of you card. You could pretty much turn it into anything. All right, so before I sign off, I thought I would share a quick peek at the 6 cards that we'll be creating in this month's Sun Prints Class to Go. Remember that registration closes on June 14th, 2022. And you can find all of the information in the link below. And if you are watching this video after that date, the tutorial will be available to purchase. Okay, so we've got that one and that and that. Oh, some of these are envelopes here. This fun one using the embossing folder, another embossing folder, and that one there. So 6 beautiful cards. One of them is a fun fold. And again, you can find all the information below. All right, so thanks so much for joining me today. I hope you guys enjoyed this card, and I will see you next time. Take care.